you're stuck looking.
One of the things that is clear is that we need to ensure that Iran does not develop nuclear weapons capacities. And the JCPOA, while not a perfect agreement, has marked a significant step in that direction and is holding Iran to account. We regret that the United States has chosen to step out, but the international community will continue to try to move forward in a way that holds Iran to that deal and demonstrates that we believe that peace and stability in the region comes with positive engagement.
So said Prime Minister Trudeau as he commented on the U.S. president's withdrawal from the Iran nuclear deal. It's been 24 hours since the president announced the U.S. would pull out, and anger is not dissipating. Protesters took to the streets of Tehran to burn the stars and stripes. President Trump somehow believes Iran will agree to a new nuclear deal and also warns the country against resuming its nuclear program because there'll be severe consequences if they do.
And Iran will come back and say, we don't want to negotiate. And of course, they're going to say that. And if I were their position, I'd say that, too, for the first couple of months. We're not going to negotiate, but they'll negotiate. Or something will happen. And hopefully that won't be.
All right, let's give this world-changing event some Canadian perspective and size up the global consequences. The former Canadian ambassador of disarmament to the United Nations is Peggy Mason. She joins me in the studio. Welcome. Dangerous times here. But what do you make of Canada's general position? Let's just start off there. Pretty much what you could expect.
Well, I was relieved that the foreign minister got her statement out expressing support, strong support, regretting the withdrawal and expressing support for the agreement.
We couldn't really poke the bear anymore, could we?
Well,
the Trump bear.
We're not seeing profiles in courage here, but nonetheless, what needed to be said was said.
I'm curious. Canada is heading the G7. The G7 will be coming to Quebec next month. Realistically, what could come out of that? Because you're going to have Trump show up. I'm sure he's not going to want to sit around and discuss his Iran nuclear deal moves with the other people who are against it.
Well, I think they're going to have to find, I hope they're working now very hard on some kind of language that they all can live with. I know that at the foreign minister level, of course, they had been trying to work on this, trying to convince Trump of this additional deal. You know, keep what you've got, and then we can work on trying to build on it. But you know, he wanted, I mean, part of what's driving President Trump is dismantling the Obama legacy. So he, you know, he wanted to get rid of the deal.
Yeah, but it gets rid of the deal, and you could have regime change in Iran, and what do you get if there's change in Iran?
It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, one has to consider that this agreement, it basically has the status of an international treaty. It was not only signed by the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council, Iran, Germany, and the EU, but it was enshrined in a binding UN Security Council resolution. Right. So the one that's in violation is the United States. Trump has walked away from the agreement by reimposing sanctions, violation 1. He has said that the sanctions will have secondary effects on anybody else, other countries that try and continue trading with Iran, violation 2. Those are very specific provisions of the agreement. Right. So, you know, from the perspective of anyone wanting to negotiate with the United States in the future, what can you do beyond that to insulate the agreement?
So, but I'm always a little confused by the U.S. pulls out, but there's still 5 key players in this agreement that seem to want to stick with it. That deal's somehow dead because one player pulls out? It actually
isn't dead. And in fact, the Europeans have made it, I mean, very strong statements from France, Germany, and the UK, united on this issue, and France in the lead, saying this deal is not dead. And then the EU has come out and made a very strong statement because the problem is secondary sanctions. I mean, the fact that companies, non-American companies, can be punished for continuing to trade with Iran. But the EU has, you know, they've been down this road, not to this extent, but for example, with the Cuba embargo. So they've developed mechanisms called blocking procedures, which try and which can, to some extent, insulate companies doing business with Iran, European companies, from the full effect of the United States.
What's a U.S. company do, though?
Yeah.
'Cause
No,
there's a lot
exactly,
of them in.
exactly. And you've got the banking investment. I mean, Iran, that was the big thing that was being held up, because even with Trump's constant attacks on the agreement, the investment climate was not what Iran had hoped for, because companies, even in Europe, banking, I mean, they do a huge amount of banking in the United States. So we have this absurd situation where essentially on the one side, you've got the UN Security Council resolution and the world, and on the other side, you've got basically three countries, United States, Israel, and Saudi Arabia. And yet, so you've got international law, you've got all of this on one side, and on the other side, you've got United States saying, well, we'll just punish whoever we want. I mean, I think there's more at stake here, really, as serious as this agreement is. I mean, I think countries have to look very hard at whether or not they roll over or they really try and stand firm. And right now, Europe is giving every indication that they will stand firm. China and Russia issued a joint statement, a very diplomatic one, not even criticizing the United States, but just saying, we strongly support this agreement. We will faithfully implement the agreement.
Interesting days. All right. Thanks, Peggy. Appreciate you coming in, as always.
You're quite welcome.
All right. Coming up, Trans Mountain setbacks rattle pipeline company headquarters. Our MPs size up the damage reports. Please stay with us.